So a reader, a watcher, a viewer, a follower writes in, one additional possible reason why some of your subscribers may not call. You are such an excellent educator that a reasonably astute student of your work can very likely go it alone, do it yourself style, and get suitable results. Now, first of all, thank you so much for the comment. Um, Lots in there. But what I'm really trying to talk about is, what created the comment and then my response to the comment. So what created the comment is the idea that I tell persons, look, none of you are going to, or not none, but many people are never going to call me. I'm really addressing the fact that we've got a very skeptical society, something that is not news to anyone. And that as a result, people don't want to talk to anybody who has to do with financial parties and they don't want to give private information because you think I'm going to sell it to mailing lists and then you're going to get 5,000 robocalls. Okay? And for that reason, no matter what I say, no matter how much information, no matter how many letters after my name, no matter how many licenses and regulations I have to follow, you don't call. That's you. Okay? That's the set of you. The second set here from the message, though, is that a student of your work can very likely go it alone, do it yourself style, and get suitable results. While this may seem to be the case, that is not what I am saying. It isn't. Not at all. Okay, let me just tell you this like right up front, right? I can't recommend that path, and not for only self-serving reasons. So the way this works, the way this business as a whole works, is I don't control the price. I don't. I get no say in the price. I don't get to change the price. None of it. In fact, it's in my best interest to make sure that you get the best price right up front, right? So that you will be an ongoing client for decades. Right? That is more valuable. That is, many, many times more valuable. No, I don't want like some sales trip to some Caribbean island. Guess what? I've been already to the Caribbean. I've been to these locations. That's fine. That's not a motivator. Does that exist in the background? I'm not going to tell you it's absent. It does exist. I don't know what they are. I don't ever pay attention to them. That's just the candid reality. I've already been to these places, candidly. So, no, I don't want to go there to go and listen to like some conferences. So, but the real point of today here is the fact of all of the mistakes and loopholes that are going to exist. And I can't reasonably point them all out to you. I can't help you avoid them, right, in every single instance. I can't. That's impossible. Okay? So on this YouTube channel, basically, I'm leaving you breadcrumbs of information that hopefully don't exist or that you find unique, important enough here on this channel that don't exist in the public domain as a whole, although I guess I'm kind of in violation because YouTube's the public domain. Anyway, and for those of you who have continued to watch, please, if you've not, always hit the like and subscribe. That's the way that YouTube works because, suggested videos, etc., come from the algorithm driven by YouTube. I don't control it. Those aren't my rules. Okay? But I just want to point out these loopholes and other misconceptions. So thank you very much, first of course, to this watcher who have made complimentary statements about me being an astute, that I'm an excellent educator, and that it leaves people with a sense of confidence. I'm grateful for that. That said, I stop short of saying that do it your own, do it yourself style and get suitable results is the sufficient optimal solution. Let's just go to a couple of examples real quick. So a shout out to this particular slide here that's showing up on your screen. This is from the state of Oregon State Marketplace. So Oregon runs its own individual health insurance marketplace. That's the way it works. Now, in your local area, not in Oregon, every local area, there's going to be a set of counselors or people who are certified insurance counselors, or they're set up with a marketplace. There can be community partners, as it says here in the red oval. The reason I'm complimenting the state of Oregon here, which is something I don't really do, right? And you usually see, well, I don't like this, Jay doesn't like that, Jay doesn't like this, Jay doesn't like that. Here, I make an exception. Because inside the red oval is a nuance which is true, which these groups, these platforms, including SHIP, don't swerve out of the way to make this very important distinction, which is that last sentence. Only an agent can recommend plans. This is a nuance, but an important one. Too frequently what happens is you, the innocent consumer, goes to these groups, whoever they are. I don't know them. I'll discuss SHIP separately in a few moments. But in Community X, there's some group. Hopefully they're qualified. I don't know. I can't say yay or nay to, group number 375,000. Please do not ask me about that particular group. I won't know. I won't have an opinion. However, I agree here with what they're saying here on this Oregon marketplace, because it says only an agent can recommend plans. The issue is that you, the consumer, need to understand this distinction. You do. Lots of stuff can go wrong here, right? Red tape at the carrier. Ongoing claims disputes with the carrier, or confusion about your claims handling with the carrier. What else do we do in the interim? Well, some has to do with recommending the plan. And one of those things, if something goes wrong, I've not sent it in on time, and I've got it in my inbox. You've misunderstood some very fundamental fact. You've got some follow-up question. You call the call center at your insurance carrier, which is a call center for the most part, and get some blurry answer that you don't understand. And you think you get the runaround. Right? In other words, these other nuances don't show up necessarily. It could leave this first comment as correct, right? It leaves you this sense that you can do it yourself. These other things that I'm talking about, they don't show up until they do, in which case you're defenseless, right? Because you having the Rosetta Stone to being able to translate what the call center has told you as an answer leaves you dissatisfied, more questions than answers, and oh yeah, the ripple effect is, well, Jay, he's just going to give me the same stuff. Nah, that's not the case, right? Because what I haven't told you, what's beyond the YouTube channel is, oh yeah, by the way, here's my Rosetta Stone. Carrier's going to give me the answer. First of all, no, right? Number one, my contact number is going to be different than yours, right? My path to the carrier is different. Second is, you can see by the set of videos, and the reason for all these letters and qualifications, etc., is not as a way to flex in front of you, but really to say, look, when push comes to shove, I'm going to haul out Rosetta Stone. And so if the carrier tries to give the runaround answer to me, I'm going to nicely remind them, hey, guess what? Here's my Rosetta Stone. I understand what you are trying to say. It's still insufficient. And if you can't explain it to me, find me someone there who can. Because it's not you, and it's not because I don't have Rosetta Stone. I do. Here's a quick example Here's a quick example, okay? So this young lady lives in Miami Beach, Miami area, okay? Miami-Dade County, okay? Health insurance in Miami, expensive, amongst the most expensive in the country. You can understand why. There's all the, outside the memes of only in Miami and all that kind of stuff. Is cost of living very high, cost of healthcare services high, and very fragmented. Very. Okay? So this person, 31 years old, she went on to my estimator website, link in the description, right? I don't know this person, did not reach out to me. This is the path she used first. She sends me an email, says, look, Jay, I need some help, etc. I'm changing jobs. I said, fine. We go through this process, which is here, okay? And this is her information, this is her income. We discuss this, right? As I've mentioned in other videos, this is a very vital input. And then we continue on, and then we find a bunch of plans that exist in Miami-Dade. Oh yeah, by the way, 122 plans. 122. So, which is a stunning number, right? So there's your first takeaway, right? Are you reasonably, as a consumer, astute student of my other material, literally going to be able to filter through 122? Okay, maybe you need a second set of eyes. That's not even the primary point of this segment of the video, right? So the second one had to do with this income, right? We wanted to get the most for your age and household income, right? This is not, a low income for age class necessarily for someone 31, changing jobs as a contractor. That fits the description of many people in the country at 31. Many, of course. So now we had calculated and estimated, this kind of eligibility, $249 a month. Okay. But there are follow-up questions that I mentioned in passing, intentionally in passing in the past, right? At the beginning of the segment, which is this person's changing jobs. Okay, and I asked, okay, did you have coverage from the past? The answer was no, or the answer was yes. The question is okay, are you going to have coverage in the second job? The answer is I don't know yet. To which I said, okay, we need to stop right here. We need to stop right here. Why? The reason is that this person, no person, you cannot simultaneously get this subsidy and you are most welcome, says Michael. You cannot simultaneously get the subsidy and be offered health insurance from your employer. You cannot get both. Okay? You have to take your employer-sponsored plan unless your premium exceeds 8.93% of your taxable income. Right? This is a number that I didn't invent. This is a federal government number. If it is greater than this 8.93%, then you can apply for financial hardship and then re-access this savings and these 122 plans. If you don't reach out to me, if you don't reach out to a licensed person and a highly qualified one, you don't know what that nuance is. You don't know at all, because if this person had not sent me the email in addition, so I get an email saying this person was on your site. I sent an email, said, hi, let me know if you have questions. Person writes back, said, I do have some questions. I'm changing jobs. I want to look. Can you help me? And sure, this part here, you could say that someone who has paid attention to my videos could, a reasonably astute student, could think that, they could then come up with the answer. And that's okay. That's okay. If that's still you, that's still okay. That's what my point is, right? That it's still okay. That said, without this second follow-up conversation, what would have ended up happening is, yeah, she could have gotten the insurance. That's true. You don't get this tax credit. She would have had to pay back all $249 for every single month that she wrongly claimed the credit. When I said nuance, I meant nuance. When I said worth a lot of money, $250 every month for 7 months, it's worth dodging a $1,700 error by just knowing what these nuances are, to which a consumer really could, even the astute student, right, of what I'm saying here, may not have command of these small pebbles that sit on a beach, on a stone beach. You need to know where to look. You need to know how to flip the rocks over. Something that I can't really hold you responsible for, something that's not on every video, right? Because then you would have to watch every video and look at every transcript to every video. Because like I've said, even a single statement that I've made in some of these videos, it's not worth $5. It's worth $500, $5,000. Running. Can't stress that enough. We got one more coming up next. In this segment of Big Deal, Little Deal, No Deal, I want to discuss Medigap carriers. So you can see other places on YouTube, you'll have, insurance company ratings, etc., when it comes to Medigap carriers. My bottom line here is that the Medigap carrier does matter, but not for the reasons you generally see here up on YouTube. Those aren't, the ratings themselves aren't the reason that I would suggest or that I make my recommendation from carrier 1 to carrier 7. Rating by itself is not the determining factor. There are nuances here. I'm going to mention just a couple of them for your guide. The first one is the ease of administration. Okay, and by ease of administration, I mean a multiple number of things. Number one, how quickly, easily, seamlessly does the application process work? Meaning, you come to me, I see a list of carriers, and I already know that the competition amongst these carriers is going to be very, very tight in most locations. Really tight. 4, 5 carriers within $10 a month? Yes, that is absolutely possible. So the idea that I'm going to go to the most dominant carrier, I'm not going to the most dominant carrier if that carrier is in 10th place out of 20. Why? Because now that difference is $400 a year, right? So that by itself just isn't the reason. Back to ease of administration. So some of this has to do with the application process and how seamless it can be. That all said, there are further nuances. Second, which is processing of claims. Accurate, speedy claim processing. Right? I have anecdotal evidence. Certain carriers do this very, very well. Very well. In addition to that, their ability to answer questions, their quality of answers to my questions varies all over the map. Really very, very different experiences I've had. Meaning, carrier number 1, I get to ask the question. They give me details right over the phone with very specific dates and numbers involved. They're willing to share this with me so that I can continue to work to resolve any issues around Medigap billing, as infrequent as it might be. Other carriers say, nope, you've got to have the policy owner send us a letter, which then goes to a third party and then gets evaluated and then goes back to the carrier and then is told to you, the policy owner, without telling me. And now I'm in the dark entirely on the entire process. So you can see it. These are two very different handlings of the same situation. And if these two are right on top of each other as far as premiums go, you can see why I would suggest one carrier over another. The third one has to do with underwriting, which is, as I've said in the past, I've given a number of videos here on ways to get accepted into Medigap. And those are all true. I'm not going to change the statements that I've made on those videos or the conclusions. No. That all said, it goes back to the question of do it yourself. There are certain things in there, nuances, again, that would make me suggest one of these carriers in here, and of which rating is not one of the criteria. And that has to do with future increases. Now, a lot of this kind of gets played up, or, hysteria, or, exaggerated statements fly around, and I've seen them on YouTube. I get questions about them in person or over email. I have questions. I've had people suggesting collusion, in public presentation, to which I swatted away. No, they're not colluding, is your bottom line. Is that certain carriers ask more complicated questions about your health background, which is entirely allowable under regulations in most states, unless you live in a special state. And the reason that it's important is that your increases in the future have to do not with your particular case especially, it has to do with your fellow policy owners. So if your fellow policy owners were just only Mr. and Miss Perfect, the likelihood, without a crystal ball, the likelihood of them filing claims is low. Therefore, future rate increases would be expected to be lower. Why? Because these carriers can't increase rates to exceed the medical loss ratio. In other words, they've got to use 80% of the premiums on claims. Well, if we've got a bunch of claims of policyholders from Mr. and Miss Perfects, they're not filing claims because they don't get sick. Right? By definition, they're Mr. and Miss Perfect. So as a result, there are limits, bounds to the way that carrier can increase the rates. So much so, in fact, that I've seen carriers pull back from those specific markets because their questions have been so stringent, underwriting has been so stringent, that they've pushed down their premiums to a level which may be unprofitable. To that degree, nuances occur, right? I can understand, right? If you've watched like 75 Medigap videos, of which there are certainly 75 Medigap videos on YouTube, these nuances aren't really explained, and they go on from here beyond the scope of today's video. But to give you an idea, this is why I don't really love YouTube, in the sense that I can understand that people want to have the quick answer. They want to have the 10-minute answer, then a 10-minute video, and they're done. I'm watching average rates of, how long people want to watch these types of videos. Nevertheless, my point is there are many layers to this onion, right? Of which I'm not going to the 10th layer. That doesn't mean that I don't have information about that 10th layer and the 20th layer of the onion, which don't show up, which the astute watcher of videos feels like they can have the confidence to do it themselves. But for the 20th layer, which doesn't appear until the time you need and hasn't been thought through before you got started to begin with. for that reason, that's why, while I like the compliment and take it as a compliment about the information that I'm presenting on the videos, these videos, even the book, even Maximize Your Medicare, is introducing nuances, but that is different than actually crossing the finish line. So just like the young lady in Miami, right? A nuance about her employment situation. In this particular instance on Medicare, a nuance about the way that Medigap processing actually works and the application process, as well as building the risk pool of fellow policy owners. Those are nuances that you wouldn't be able to, or I shouldn't reasonably expect you to know about. Those are factors that I'm dealing with on top every time I make a recommendation. That's why actually crossing the finish line here with us does make a difference. So it's slightly crazy, but the year is half over. What this usually means is that I'm going to hit the presentation trail. Hopefully I'll get the marbles out of my mouth for those presentations. But anyway, I've been giving them. I give them virtually, many locations, and in person. I've done so over the years, hundreds of times actually at this point. I call it Medicare ABCs. There is a special offer. It's going up to only one location, gh2unfiltered.com. It is the only place it'll be available. It's not going to be here on the public YouTube channel. Okay, it's only for subscribers to GH2 Unfiltered. GH2 Unfiltered is a subscription site for less than $2 a month. I'm going to send you a copy of Maximize Your Medicare, the paperback edition, for free, postage paid anywhere in the lower 48. You can see the agenda here. It addresses all of the different parts of Medicare, but in addition to that, the important part is really the glue. The glue that attaches all the pieces together in a coherent way. It's why I've been saying on this channel that I don't love YouTube, because what you're getting is fragments. And I understand that. You got 10 minutes, you want to get the answer. That's our society. That's the rules of the world that we live in as it currently stands. I get all that. That said, I am also under the same person. My message is that's incomplete. If I get fragment 1 from source number 1, if I get fragment B from source number 3, what if these two have different messages? Now you kind of are left with some slight disconnect, gap in information. It's why the book is important. It's also why some people prefer the presentation, because they want to hear me. You don't want to see me, I promise. Right? You already know that. Anyway, but you understand my point, meaning a coherent message. A coherent message. Only up on GH2 Unfiltered. You can get it, as well as the other subscriber-only videos and information that I share there.